The ancient Stoics called this Memento Mori, remember death. And it's the reason some men live a full life in 40 years, while others merely exist for 80. In this video, I'm going to show you why remembering death isn't morbid. It's the most life-affirming practice ever created. We'll explore how Stoic wisdom turns mortality into urgency, fear into clarity, hesitation into action. If you're tired of postponing your real life, if you're done playing small, if you're ready to stop existing and start living, this is your wake-up call. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand. Death isn't your enemy. It's your greatest teacher. 1. What Memento Mori really means. Memento Mori doesn't mean be afraid of death. It doesn't mean walk around depressed, waiting for the end. That's what most people think. They picture morbid obsession, dark thoughts. But that's the opposite of what the Stoics meant. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Not, you will die someday, so be sad. But, you could die right now, so live accordingly." That's the shift. That's the power. Memento Mori is a tool for living, not dying. Let me show you what I mean. Two men, both 35. Both have dreams they've been postponing. Man A lives like he has forever. I'll start that business next year. I'll travel when I retire. I'll tell her how I feel, eventually. He scrolls. He distracts. He waits for the right time. And then one day, maybe at 50, maybe at 70, he realizes the right time was always now. And now it's too late. Man B practices Memento Mori. Every morning he reminds himself, I could die today. Not to scare himself, but to clarify. And because of that clarity, he asks, if today were my last day, would I waste it? Would I stay in a job I hate? Would I hold back from the woman I love? The answer is always number. So he acts, he builds, he speaks, he lives. Same age, same mortality, completely different lives. One man exists, the other lives. And the only difference? One remembers death, the other pretends it won't come. That's Memento Mori. Not fear. Focus. Have you ever had a moment where you realize time is running out? What did it make you do differently? If this is already shifting how you see your day, hit that like button. Subscribe for Stoic wisdom that cuts through the noise. 2. Why modern men fear death and why that fear is killing them. Here's the paradox. We've never been safer. Medicine is advanced. Lifespans have doubled. And yet, men today are more afraid of death than ever before. Why? Because we're disconnected from it. Our ancestors lived with death. They saw it. They understood life is temporary. But modern men, we hide death away. We sanitize it. We pretend it's not real. And because we never confront it, we're terrified of it. And that terror is destroying our lives. When you're terrified of death, you become terrified of life. You play it safe. You avoid risk. You stay small. Because some unconscious part of you thinks, if I don't take risks, I won't die. But that's a lie. You're going to die anyway. The only question is, will you die having lived, or will you die having merely survived? Epictetus said, it is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. The real tragedy isn't death, it's never living in the first place. And that's what's happening to millions of men right now. They're so afraid of dying that they never start living. They don't ask her out, because rejection feels like death. They don't start the business, because failure feels like death. They don't speak their truth, because judgment feels like death. And so they wait. They delay. They tell themselves, someday. And someday becomes never. Here's what the Stoics understood. When you accept that death is inevitable, it loses its power over you. You stop avoiding life to avoid death. You start taking risks, not recklessly, but courageously, because you realize the biggest risk is dying without ever having lived. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. While you live, while it is in your power. That's the urgency Memento Mori creates. Not panic, but purpose. When you remember you could die today, you stop wasting today. What are you avoiding because you're afraid? And what would you do if you had 1 year left? 3. How death awareness creates unstoppable urgency. Let me tell you what happens when a man truly internalizes Memento Mori. First, his priorities crystallize. All the noise falls away, the petty arguments, the endless distractions. Because when you hold your mortality in your mind, you start asking, does this matter if I die tomorrow? And most things don't. That coworker who disrespected you? Doesn't matter. That grudge you've been holding? Doesn't matter. What does matter? The people you love, the work that lights you up, the truth you've been too afraid to speak. Memento Mori is a filter. It removes everything that isn't essential. And when you remove the non-essential, you're left with pure focus. Steve Jobs understood this. After surviving cancer, he said, "Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. All fear of embarrassment, all fear of failure, gone. Because when you know you could die today, you stop caring what people think. You start caring what you think. And that shift changes everything. Suddenly, you're not living for approval. You're living for aliveness. You take the trip. You start the business. You tell her how you feel, not because you're reckless, but because you're awake. Here's the irony. When you remember death, you become more alive than you've ever been. You taste food more deeply. You notice sunlight. You feel gratitude for ordinary moments because you realize they're not guaranteed. Most men sleepwalk through life, assuming infinite tomorrows. But the man who practices Memento Mori? He knows every moment is borrowed time. And that knowledge doesn't make him afraid. It makes him grateful, focused, unstoppable, because he's not waiting for someday. He's living today. In relationships, you stop holding grudges. Why? Because what if this is the last conversation we ever have? You stop taking people for granted. You say, "I love you" more. You resolve conflicts quickly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness." Concentrate every minute, not multitasking, not half present, fully here, because this minute might be your last. Challenge. For 24 hours, ask yourself, if this were my last time doing this, would I do it differently? If you're ready to stop sleepwalking, like this video. Subscribe. We're building men who live with eyes wide open. 4. The 3 Memento Mori rituals every man should practice. You understand what Memento Mori is. You understand why it matters. Now let's make it practical. Here are 3 Stoic rituals that will hardwire Memento Mori into your nervous system. Ritual 1. The morning death reminder. Every morning before you check your phone, say this out loud: "I could die today." Don't just say it, feel it, imagine it. Your heart stops. This is your last day. Then ask, if this were my last day on earth, how would I live it? Would you waste it scrolling? Would you stay angry at someone you love? This isn't about fear. It's about clarity. When you start your day with death, you start with focus. Marcus Aurelius did this every morning, not because he was depressed, but because he refused to waste his life. Ritual 2. The daily priority question. Throughout your day, whenever you're about to do something, especially something you're avoiding, pause. Ask yourself, if I had 1 year left to live, would this matter? About to scroll for 3 hours? Ask the question. The answer is instant. No. About to have a difficult conversation you've been avoiding? Ask the question. Yes, absolutely. This question becomes a compass. It points you toward what's real and away from what's noise. Ritual 3. The evening life audit. Before bed, close your eyes. Ask yourself, If I had died today, would I be proud of how I lived? Not, was I productive? But, did I live? Or did I just exist? Did I love deeply? Did I act courageously? Did I waste this day? Or did I honor it? This isn't about perfection. Some days, the answer will be no. But when you ask this question every night, you start making different choices the next day. These 3 rituals take less than 5 minutes total, but they will rewire your brain. You'll stop procrastinating. You'll stop tolerating mediocrity. You'll stop living like you have forever. Because you'll remember, every single day, you don't. Which ritual resonates most? Pick one and commit for 7 days. Then tell me what shifted. If you're ready to commit, like this video. 5. What happens when you live with death in mind? Let me tell you what happens when a man truly lives with Memento Mori. First, he becomes fearless. Not because nothing scares him, but because he's already confronted the ultimate fear, death. And when you've made peace with dying, what's left to be afraid of? Rejection? He's dying anyway. Failure? He's dying anyway. So he takes the risks. He speaks the truth. He lives boldly. The worst thing that can happen, death, is already guaranteed. The only variable is whether he lives fully before it comes. Second, he stops wasting time on resentment. When you remember you're going to die, holding a grudge becomes absurd. You're going to be dead. They're going to be dead. Everyone you know is going to be dead. And you're spending your limited time being angry? You let it go. Not because you're weak, but because you're awake. Third, he becomes deeply present. Most men are never here. They're replaying the past or rehearsing the future. But the man who practices Memento Mori knows, this moment is all I have. So he's here, fully. When he's with his woman, he's with his woman. No phone, no distraction, just presence. Fourth, he becomes grateful, not in a fake way, but in a real, bone-deep way. When you know you could die today, every ordinary thing becomes extraordinary. The fact that you woke up? A gift. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." That's the paradox of Memento Mori. When you remember death, you fall in love with life. And people feel that in you. They're drawn to you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're alive. If this resonates, like this video, subscribe. This is a brotherhood of men who choose aliveness over existence. 6. The man who remembers death lives fully. There's a famous story about Steve Jobs. After his cancer diagnosis, he kept a mirror in his bathroom. Every morning, he'd look at himself and ask, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? Whenever the answer was no for too many days in a row, he knew he needed to change something. That's Memento Mori in action. Not morbid. Clarifying. Steve Jobs lived more in 56 years than most men live in 90, because he remembered he was going to die. Now let me ask you the same question. If today were the last day of your life, would you want to do what you're about to do today? Not just today, but this week, this month, this year. Are you living the life you'd be proud to die living? Or are you postponing, waiting, playing it safe? Because here's the truth the Stoics understood. You are going to die. Not maybe, definitely. The only question is, will you have lived? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." So begin. Start the thing you've been afraid to start. Say the thing you've been afraid to say. Love the way you've been afraid to love. Because one day, maybe today, maybe years from now, your time will run out. And on that day, you won't regret the risks you took. You'll regret the ones you didn't. Memento Mori isn't about being afraid of death. It's about being so awake to life that you refuse to waste a single moment of it. Final challenge. If you had 1 year left, what would you change starting today? If this message hit you where it matters, like this video. Subscribe to Stoic Horology. We are building a brotherhood of men who live deliberately, courageously, fully. Not someday, today. Because today might be all you have. Welcome to Memento Mori. Now go live like you're dying, because you are.